live session now. Yeah.
Content of this meeting is being sent to a third party.
Yeah. Should we say it is okay?
What is that?
The content of this meeting is being sent to a third party.
Yeah, third party means we are live, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we say okay?
Yeah, I think so. It is okay.
Okay, right.
And I'm going to send that link live. You can.
Yeah.
So Vinodji, if you like to go ahead and introduce the quick the purpose of this call today, and then we'll request Siddhoji Rao to introduce the main speaker. So over to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Vasnik ji. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya to one and all. Thank you for coming into the Zoom call on the Indian Constitution Day, which we celebrate on 26th of November. And this day holds a great importance in all the Indians, especially the people of marginalized sections who really face the oppression, suppression from the ages together. This day is just like a festival. Therefore, the Ambedkar Association of North America thought to celebrate this day globally by introducing a good speaker, Mr. P.S. Murthy, a learned man from Telangana and Telugu states of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. So it will be a befitting moment for all of us to remember our Indian Constitution, the great Constitution, wherein Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar emerged as the chief architect of Indian Constitution, and the importance of this document is like a lifeline for millions and millions of people in India. So as we scheduled the call at 9 p.m. here in US, that is EST time, and it will be 26th November morning, 7:30 a.m. for India, that is IST. So without waste of time, the time is already 7:34, and already our guest speaker, Mr. P.S.N. Murthy, is already joined and is on the line very much. And I also request Dr. Siddhoji Rao to introduce our guest speaker on this topic of is Constitution in danger. This is the main purpose why we organized this Zoom call, to know our Constitution, its importance, because it is the lifeline of millions of people. So our lives, liberties, our freedoms are all related to Indian Constitution. Therefore, it is the duty of every Indian and overseas Indians to know the importance and its day-to-day application in our daily lives. So let us begin our call by the introduction of guest speaker by Dr. Siddhoji Rao. Siddhoji Rao is a main person, is the main person for Officers Forum, and he's also related to involved in so many activities, and is main Prabuddha Bharat International Officers Forum. And I would welcome Siddhoji Rao, sir, to please introduce our guest speaker. Yeah, please.
Good morning to you all. I'm really honored to introduce Sri P.S.N. Murthy Garu.
Sir, आपका video on करेंगे, sir, if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
Let me wait 1 minute.
Yeah.
It is my things.
No problem. Yeah.
It's already video is on.
Yes. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Sri, shall I start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see you. Yeah.
So anyway, Sri P.S.N. Murthy IDAS is an Indian Defense Accounting Service officer and worked at Nagpur, Pune, Trivandrum, Bangalore, New Delhi, Hyderabad. He has an outstanding records in his entire career and is one of the finest civil servants. More importantly, he is a dedicated Ambedkarite is the only officer who has the authority over the entire literature of Babasaheb Ambedkar and the constitution in both Telugu states. Moreover, he is a well-read scholar and highly qualified educationally. He is basically linguist, extremely good at English language. So taught English to nearly 5 lakh tribal students. He makes a student to speak English within 24 hours. Again, he has distributed nearly 1 lakh dictionaries to both Telugu state students. He has been associated with the Prabhupada Bharat International, Lata Raja Foundation, Officers Forum, helped us. He took voluntary retirement 10 years early from the services just to serve the marginalized, and he is a own brother of late Sri P.V. Rao Saab, who headed the Mala Mahanadu in combined Andhra. At present, he would like to inculcate the financial discipline among marginalized. So he initiated the Prabhupada Bharat Credit Society in both Telugu states. He is basically very sensitive, concerned, and responsible citizen of India. He is very good good-hearted, wonderful human being who always thinks about marginalized section and Baba Sabis. He is a really great human being. He is really Ambedkar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your profound introduction of Mr. P.S.N. Murthy, who is a renowned Ambedkarite scholar on constitutional studies and is a main speaker for so many civil servants, organizations, wherever they conduct their awareness programs for their day-to-day life, how to deal in the government structure with the law and the constitutional law especially. I thought sir has also authored some books, right? Like English Grammar for Global Communications, Sword of Ambedkar, Educational English, and he prepared and projects on the rural education system and submitted to the government of India. And he prepared report on progress of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes since before independence. That is really a remarkable feature by P.S.N. Murthy, sir. So, sir, we are really honored to have you as a guest speaker, sir, today on the important day of our Indian Constitution Day.
Yeah,
So
most
I request,
welcome.
yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I request Mahesh Vasnik ji to introduce about the AANA and continue the program.
Yes, sir. As you mentioned, Vinod Badeji, thank you very much for inviting P.S.N. Murthy, sir, on the online call. This is our first time celebration, sir. Even though we are based in United States since 2002, and we
Oh.
celebrated many places, but the online we are celebrating the first time. And thank you for joining. And we are eager to listen from you and also learn from you a lot of things today. So over to you, sir. Without further delay, please proceed, sir. Thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, it's a very great honor, and Jai Bhim to all the participants. I think I could see that some 22 people have joined the meeting now. I thank Mr. Vinod for bringing in me into this discussion group today, and whoever is doing this kind of a service, being in other countries and still getting concerned with the Indian affairs, especially the status of the Constitution of India and the ideology of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. These are very good connecting points as far as your gestures are concerned. Though you are abroad and doing very nicely on your professional or whatever career options that you had opted there, still concerned with the marginalized sections and the democracy and the constitution and Baba Sahib's ideology. This is a great thing to happen, and I congratulate and thank everyone everyone who joined this group from abroad. And I thank Dr. Siddhoji Rao for introducing me with too many, what do you say, misinformations. he, he has given a lot of things about me, and probably I am very humbled That is a little amount of exaggeration here and there, but still he is a great man, and he respects me, and we love each other. We are brothers. We function like brothers in Hyderabad. And thanks Siddhoji ji for giving this kind of a fabulous introduction about me. Friends, I am PSN Murthy, a very ordinary student of English language, very ordinary student of Indian Constitution, and very ordinary student of Ambedkar's literature. I am not a trained lawyer to speak the great legal issues or legal aspects about the Constitution of India. I am not a trained lawyer. I read the Constitution, I read Ambedkar, I read anything else as a simple common citizen, as a responsible citizen. And that will have some limitations on my presentation as well as my knowledge base. You will have to bear with me for the coming 40 minutes or 50 minutes that we will be going to talk to you. And I really thank for inviting me as the main speaker for on this occasion of celebration of Constitution Day. I know some of you, I think some of you are better equipped with a lot of literature about Ambedkar and the Constitution. And some of you are well grounded on the ideology of Constitution and constitutionalism and constitutional morality. But I am still honored, and I feel proud of this honor given to me as the main speaker today. What is this question? Is the Indian Constitution endangered? This is the question to be debated. If the question is Indian Constitution endangered, that translates into a question called, is Indian democracy endangered? Because India is enjoying something called the constitutional democracy. It is a parliamentary democracy, but still it is a constitutional democracy, because the very Supreme Court, which is supposed to be the custodian of this constitution, said that though Indian democracy and the democratic legislative bodies like the parliament are supreme in lawmaking, they cannot change certain aspects of Indian constitution which form the basic structure of Indian constitution. That basic structure of Indian constitution cannot be changed even by the parliament, which is supposed to be the sovereign lawmaking body in the country, which is not supposed to be. That means Constitution is becoming the supreme authority even to check the tendencies of the legislature like the Parliament of India. Therefore, what we have in India is, really speaking, constitutional democracy in the form of parliamentary democracy. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, everybody is aware and everybody quotes quite often the definition of democracy given by Abraham Lincoln, who said, democracy is of the people, for the people, and by the people. It is easy to remember and easy to repeat so that people are familiarized more with this definition of democracy. But Baba Sahib always, as he was as an alternative thinker on sociological issues, economic issues, constitutional issues, and constitution, whatever subject he touched, Baba Sahib Ambedkar always wanted to see it from a different perspective. And the perspective proved to be such great because of this perspective on various issues concerning the human existence and human progress and human society as a whole. He is considered the symbol of knowledge across the globe, and he is praised and he is respected as symbol of knowledge. Therefore, what is the definition of Ambedkar about Indian democracy is very, very essential for a discussion today. Baba Sahib Ambedkar defines democracy as a form and method of government through which revolutionary changes can be brought about in the social, economic, and political lives of people without bloodshed. This is the definition of democracy given by Ambedkar. He wanted to ensure that his wording and his ideas, concepts, whatever he has employed in writing the Constitution of India, he wanted to reflect this definition of Ambedkar in the making of the Constitution as a whole. Therefore, what we have in India is constitutional democracy, the form of which is parliamentary democracy. Now the question is Indian democracy, is the constitutional democracy, or is the Constitution of India in danger? This is the question we are going to elaborate and throw some light upon. I understand this. Whether the Constitution of India is in danger or not, how to evaluate this question, on what parameters we have to fix the framework so that we can understand the question better, and whatever reply we are trying to give is structured and methodical. Therefore, what we have to see is what are the pillars of Indian Constitution and what are the foundational principles of Indian Constitution to run India as a democratic country, as a democratic polity, as a democratic way of life. Therefore, democracy, as success or survival of democracy in India, Baba Sahib said once, depends on certain parameters. And internationally, it is always accepted the framework of democracy as one is legislature as one of the pillars of democracy, executive as the second pillar, judiciary is the third pillar, and the media is supposed to be the fourth pillar, and the fifth pillar is supposed to be the espionage, research and analysis wing, which does the job of collecting intelligence about international and national affairs. Therefore, these are the 5 pillars on which democracy really subsists and sustains itself and stands. And to this, Baba Sahib Ambedkar adds one more feature, that is called a vigilant citizen. Then, if you evaluate the functioning of these pillars of democracy called legislature, executive, judiciary, media, espionage, and vigilant citizen as a force to reckon with for success of democracy or protection of the Constitution of India, you will come to know whether Indian Constitution is in danger or it is still intact, whether it is progressing or regressing. These are the parameters on which I want to throw some light upon. And the second aspect that we need to concern with to satisfy ourselves whether Indian Constitution is in danger or is still intact without any danger to it, there are founding principles of democracy. They are, as Baba Sahib indicated, one is individualism, the second is liberty, the third is equality, and the fourth is fraternity. Whether these foundational principles of democracy are really felt by the population as a whole, different sections of the community, society in India, different religions of that they are living in India, there are different religions in India, different castes in India, different tribes in India, different races in India, whether all these communities are feeling
they have the liberty? Are they feeling they are being treated equally? Are they feeling that they are treated like brothers and sisters across the globe without any discrimination against them? These are the principles and the pillars against which you have to always evaluate the functioning of a democracy or the functioning of the constitution. This is my framework on which I am going to talk to you for a few minutes now. My dear friends, legislature as a body is always comprised of, for example, if you take the parliament, it comprises of the members of parliament elected by the people, electorate in the country from different constituencies. Then Baba Sahib Ambedkar, while writing the constitution, said that who is eligible to become an MP or to contest to become an MP. He said that he should be a voter, he should be sound in mind, he should not be mad, he should be a citizen of India, whether he is educated or not educated, whether he understands the constitution or not, everybody is a voter who is completing 18 years of age. And a person who completes 25 years of age with being a voter in India can always contest the parliamentary elections. This is to give respect to each and every citizen, irrespective of his educational qualifications. The general qualification for contesting as an MP is fixed as 25 years of age and being a voter in the country, and he should be sound in his body and mind. He should be able to spend some 75 lakh rupees as an expenditure towards the election processes. These are the simple qualifications to become an MP. But Baba Sahib Ambedkar also talks about constitutional morality as the most important aspect for the survival of the constitution as well as survival of democracy in India. What is this constitutional morality? Indian laws are made by Parliament to cover 22 national languages. We have different linguistic groups in the country. There are 22 national languages recognized by the Constitution. And if one person, if I am as a Telugu man, I speak in Telugu language, no other linguistic group will be able to follow me what I am speaking. Therefore, the parliamentary debates language to be used is either official language of the country or any other language can be used in the parliament while speaking, but the law should be made in English. The legal and statutory language for India as a whole is English language. Then how the political parties are destroying the constitution, I have an analytical answer for this. If you are sending a person who does not know ABC of English language, who does not know the ABC of law making procedure, who does not know how to initiate a bill in the parliament, and if you are selecting him as an MP candidate and sending to parliament, will he be able to appreciate the parliamentary procedures? Will he be able to understand what is spoken by a person who knows English in the parliament? These are the vital questions which the political parties are supposed to consider and send to parliament such qualified people who will be able to know the nitty-gritty of lawmaking procedure, who will be able to understand English language. And these are the basic qualifications from the constitutional morality point of view. But unfortunately, in our parliament, our political parties send people who cannot speak English language, who do not know the lawmaking process, who never studied Constitution of India at least 1 or 2 pages, leave alone the constitutional body. They do not know what is the preamble of the Constitution of India. This is the composition of Indian Parliament to a great extent. A few of them might be knowing English language. a few of them might have read Indian Constitution as lawyers by profession. But most of the 90%, 95% of the parliamentarians in the country never read Indian Constitution. They do not know ABC of Indian Constitution. They are supposed to make laws based on the constitutional values and the constitutional principles and articles of the Constitution. Therefore, this constitutional morality, when it is completely sacrificed, when it is completely neglected by the political parties, Indian Parliament is becoming a den for the criminals. Indian Parliament is becoming a hideout for the financial fraudsters and scamsters. Scamsters, fraudsters, and criminals occupy majority of Indian Parliament today. Then my question is, should I see the number of people occupying the parliamentary positions, whether the house is full or half, whether all the constituencies have elected their members or not, whether this is the parameter to say that whether Indian has a parliamentary system and working very efficiently, or should I see the qualifications of these MPs, criminal records of these MPs, financial records of these MPs? These MPs are supposed to do justice for the poorest classes and the middle classes, and all these MPs, 95% of the MPs are billionaires in the parliament today. How far they are concerned with the problems of the common men, how far they are concerned with the problems of the middle class, what is their interest in bringing about social equality, economic equality in the country is a billion-dollar question. And this is how the Indian legislature is comprised and constituted and functioning today. If you see the legislative debates, the financial bills, all the legal measures, when they're introduced, no discussion takes place, no meaningful discussion takes place. It is all ruckus. It is all sloganeering. It is all shouting against the opposition, shouting against the other benches, treasury benches and opposition benches, one against the other. This is how the Indian Parliament is working. Whether does it qualify to be the constitutional morality grounded legislature or not is the standard for whether democracy has taken roots for the at all to analyze its functioning. This is one aspect. The second aspect is executive, how the executive is functioning. We have the cabinet system of government in India where the parliament members only will become the executive, that is the cabinet of the country. This executive is supposed to implement the laws, and this executive is supposed to be supported by the permanent bureaucracy. If this executive and this permanent bureaucracy are biased against the constitutional values, those who do not respect the constitutional values like equality, free liberty, and fraternity, if they do not have any respect for the democratic institutions and functioning of democracy, how they can be described or defined as the real executive who is functioning for the overall community, overall country as a whole, different religions, different castes, different races, and different tribes. All these things are becoming vital and vital these days, especially when the so-called RSS functionaries and RSS ideologues are heads of each and every constitutional body, each and every ministry as secretaries, as directors, as other functionaries, as university professors, as heads of various constitutional bodies. If a biased ideology is their doctrine, like RSS has an ideology, and this ideology is anti-minorities, it is anti-Dalits, it is anti-socialist principles, and it is anti-Indian constitution to begin with. They may be using the democratic processes and democratic institutions to implement their ideology, but they are not really they will not be really implementing the ideology of the constitution and the preamble of the constitution. They never respect. These people are occupying all the departments as heads of the department today. All the secretaries, most of the secretaries to the government of India are RSS background, people with RSS background. All the institutional heads are vice chancellors of the institutions, educational institutions, universities. They are all from RSS background. This RSS has an ideology of its own. This ideology is based on the Varna Dharma system and the caste system. They believe that caste system is the best organization of human affairs. They believe that Varna system is the best organization to organize and manage human affairs. And so therefore, those who do not fall in Varna system and caste system are anti-national for them. And this is the ideology being guided, that is guiding these executive authorities in the country today. This is what I wanted to submit. Whether Indian constitution is in danger or not, these agencies will speak. Their functions will speak. For example, I'll give one example. There used to be a planning commission prior to Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister of the country. After Modi became the Prime Minister, the Planning Commission is removed. In its place, some Niti Ayog had been brought in. And the Niti Ayog head tells in the newspapers and the TVs that creation of employment is not the business of the government. See, what ridiculous statement. This ridiculous statement is coming from a person who is supposed to give financial advice, economic advice for the economic empowerment and economic progress of the nation. And he does not believe in the government creating employment. If you see what is the employment ratio for 1,000 people in Russia, 1,000 people in America, 1,000 people in European countries, 1,000 people in China, you will find if for every 1,000 people in China, some 58 people are government employees. Whereas in India, for every 1,000 people, it is only 13 members are government employees. In so-called advanced countries where private sector is supposed to be ruling the complete economic affairs, like US, you take Italy, you take France, there are more than 120 people out of every 1,000 people in the government sector. So government has been a decent source of employment for advanced countries and capitalist countries. And India has been described as a socialist, secular, democratic republic. In this, government employment proportion to population is very, very bad. It is 1:3%. And the Niti Ayog head says, creation of employment is not the business of the government. This is the ideology that is governing the bodies that are deciding the destiny of this nation. This is the executive. Then comes the third pillar of democracy, or the third organ of Indian constitution. That is the judiciary. I am extremely sorry. I need 2 minutes break. I need to go to toilet for urination. If you bear with me, kindly bear with me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will wait quickly, sir. Yeah. Again, members, please prepare your questions. What the topic that we are talking about, does our constitution is in danger? So please hold your questions, or you can type your questions in the chat box. PS and Murthy sir is going to take care of that after the talk, but you can also raise your hand if needed. Thank you. Thank you for waiting.
Maheshji, in the meantime,
Yes.
if you are comfortable,
Yeah,
you
please
can
go ahead.
announce
Yeah.
that December 6th announcement, December 6th program, what we conduct in globally and in India. You can just announce, right, for 1 minute?
Yes, yes, yes. We can also announce that. Yeah. Murthy sir back online. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. for the
No, sir.
I
Go on,
drink a
sir.
lot of water in the morning, so I need to go at least 2-3 times. Sorry for this personal problem. And the third pillar is the judiciary we are talking about. 3-4 years ago, if you remember, if you are following the Indian media, 4 judges of the Supreme Court came out in the media publicly declaring that Indian democracy is in danger. The standard that have evaluated for the dangerous conditions of Indian democracy are the functioning of judiciary. The functioning of judiciary is undemocratic. The functioning of the Chief Justice, the then Chief Justice of India, was so dictatorial, so personalized, so individualistic that he did not bother to care for the constitutional protection, but he was going on distributing the Supreme Court, the cases to the chosen judges only. He was not following the proper procedures that are laid down for the allocation of duties for the judges. This was the reason for 4 Supreme Court judges coming out in the media and declaring to the nation that Indian democracy is danger. That means that speaks volumes about the functioning of Indian judiciary, which is supposed to be the guardian of Indian constitution and the guardian of Indian federal system and the guardian of fundamental rights of the citizens. If the judiciary itself is turning against the judiciary that it is undemocratic, what more better subject we need, certificate we need to say that Indian democracy or Indian constitution is in danger? This is question number 1. Question number 2, recently the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachudji, and after he laid down his service, after he retired, many people came on the social media and even in the some print media that D.Y. Chandrachud's tenure as Chief Justice of India would be remembered for his destructive judgments on the Constitution of India and the legal system of the country. It is not my statement. It is not an ordinary citizen statement. It is the legal pundits, lawyers of Supreme Court, and some of the retired judges of Supreme Court have come onto the social media platforms and declared that Justice Chandrachud has compromised himself, has compromised the judiciary's values and compromised the constitutional values. Therefore, he will be remembered for the bad judgments that he has delivered rather than for the good judgments he has delivered. This is the position of judiciary. And judiciary has a criticism against itself that it is the most undemocratic in the sense that it is not representative of various classes of the society, constitutional classes. Indian constitution has 4 classes of Indian citizens. These 4 classes are required to be remembered while making laws and administering development and welfare activities and the constitutional provisions. What are these 4 classes? One class is scheduled castes, another class is scheduled tribes, another class is socially and educationally backward classes. And after removing these 3 classes from the overall population, what you will get is a general category called the default category. This way, Indian constitution is talking about 4 classes of people as far as their rights, their welfare administration, their representative systems, and their reservation systems, and their development administration is concerned. And these 4 classes are not represented in the judiciary. Majority of the judiciary, most of the judges in the high courts and Supreme Courts, there is no representation of backward classes, scheduled tribes, and scheduled castes. At least this numerical representation would have justified Indian democracy as a democratic body, at least physically. Though its functioning may be working against the democratic principles and the functioning may be against the anti-constitutional. This the physical democratic format is not even established till today in Indian judiciary. and which is supposed to be the guardian of all these four categories of Indian citizens, which are constitutionally valid, constitutionally recognized. Therefore, Indian judiciary remained mostly undemocratic, unrepresentative as far as our analysis is concerned. Then comes the fourth pillar of democracy called media. This print media and electronic media is directly biased against one particular ideology. It is headed by the people who are grounded in the ideology called Manusmriti or the RSS ideology, which is anti-Muslim, anti-minority, anti-scheduled caste or Dalits, anti-constitution, anti-this socialist principles and communists. These are the heads of all the media houses. And these media houses are in the kabja of the corporate houses. Therefore, the news items are purchased, bought. It is not reflective of the functioning of democracy or democratic institutions or the progress of economic progress, social issues, economic issues, all these issues which are really plaguing the nation, which is plaguing the country, which are troubling the country, which are creating ruckus in various fields and in different ways. These are never analyzed and presented to the Indian citizen objectively by these media houses. The fourth pillar of democracy is the weakest, most biased, highly corporatized, and capitalistic, highly casteist is the fourth pillar of Indian democracy, the called media. This way, if you evaluate on some value systems, evaluate on the founding principles of democracy like liberty, equality, and fraternity, these four pillars of Indian democracy are not satisfactory. Therefore, we cannot say democracy has taken its substantial roots in the Indian society so far. Democratic way of life and democratic way of discussions, debates, and analysis of things is never taking place. Therefore, we are far away from the vision of Baba Sahib Ambedkar when he described that defined that democracy is a method and form of government through which revolutionary changes can be brought about in the social, economic, and political lives of the people without bloodshed. There is no bloodshed. At the same time, democracy is, but a formal democracy is there, but not the substantial democracy. Democracy shape is visible, but there is no vitality of democracy in the various institutions that are functioning in the name of democracy. This is how I answer this question as far as the four pillars of democracy are concerned. Then intelligence wing, RA is there, research and analysis wing, which is supposed to be the espionage of this country. And this intelligence wing is used for tapping the telephones, mobile phones of all the opposition leaders to fix them to really, this is undemocratic process. The Prime Minister of India and the government of the day today is involved in knowing the private conversation of political leaders, private conversations of all the important functionaries in the democratic institutions. And if this is the way, if you want to doubt everybody, if you want to really collect information secretly about the private conversations, and if you want to control the system, this is not the ideology, this is not the democratic way of functioning. This is one aspect we are concerned with. And the sixth most important aspect for survival of democracy or protection of Indian constitution is the vigilant citizen. Here, the genius of Ambedkar or the vision of Ambedkar, what is a vigilant citizen? He has given the definition in a different format. All of us think that simple education is good enough, if the society is educated, that is good enough to transform that society into a democratic society. It is not that way. In India, the international norms for democracy are social advancement. For example, in America or in Europe, if an illiterate becoming a literate man and educated man as a professional course is doing, it is social advancement. Educational advancement is directly proportional to social advancement in the rest of the world. But in India, educational advancement is not social advancement at all. Even if you are a PhD, a Dalit PhD is still a Dalit. An OBC PhD is still an OBC. A Brahmin PhD is still a Brahmin. And these PhDs do not treat each other as equals. Their caste defines their status in the society. The individual's status in the society is fixed by the caste, but not by his educational qualifications, his employment levels, or his economic achievements. Therefore, in India, social advancement has got a different connotation and different meaning and different definition. We will come to that definition subsequently. For me, now for us, to determine who is a vigilant citizen, you have to go to Ambedkar's Annihilation of Caste, in the beginning of which he has quoted Mr. one philosopher, Italian writer, thinker, Drummond. He says that he that will not reason is a bigot, he that cannot reason is a fool, he that dare not reason is a slave. I want you to follow this very carefully. This I want to relate to a vigilant citizen that Ambedkar was talking about. He that will not reason, the person is not willing to reason. His mind will not prompt him to reason, means question. Questioning to understand, questioning to analyze, questioning to really know different aspects of a thing. People are not willing to question. They want to stick to the same social institutions, same political institutions, same economic system. And if he is not willing to question at all, he is a bigot. This bigotry can be social bigotry, religious bigotry, linguistic bigotry, or any other cultural bigotry also. Cultural nationalism. We should protect our culture and language, good or bad, deficient or inefficient. This is called cultural bigotry. My religion is great, good or bad, exploitative or inexploitative. My religion is great. This is religious bigotry. My caste is high. I am better, whether I am educated or not, I am thinking or not, I am understanding or not. If I am born in a particular caste, I am superior to many other plethora of castes that are below me. This is called caste-based bigotry. Indian society is either considered as a religious bigotry or the caste social bigotry called caste-based bigotry. This is one aspect. The second aspect of this is he that cannot question or cannot reason is a fool. That means a person who does not have the capacity to understand, to capacity to question, the capacity to reason and understand things and institutions around him, whether they are social institutions, educational institutions, or the economic institutions or political institutions. If he cannot understand the functioning and the impact of that functioning on his own life, he is an uneducated man, a foolish man. And India is full of these fools, and though whether they are educated or uneducated, this foolishness is ruling the Indian minds. This is one aspect that we have to understand. And the third aspect Ambedkar quotes from Drummond is, he that dare not reason, he that dare not reason is a slave. You know something wrong is happening. Caste system is doing more damage than good to the society. Our religious bigotry is really driving you unscientific. It is checking the scientific progress of the nation. You understand all these things, but you do not have the courage to question the existing system, to question the religious values, the question the social values. You do not have the courage, or you do not dare to question the system. And in Indian society, if Mr. Modi is taking some decisions and the parliamentarians around him, whether they are 500 or 550, they do not question him, though something is being done wrong, something is being spoken wrong, something is being discussed wrong. They will not question Mr. Modi, because Mr. Modi is considered to be the boss. He cannot be questioned. Somebody should not dare to question him. Not only Modi, most of the political parties, heads of political parties, do not allow the workers and other functionaries in that political body to question the boss of the political party. Therefore, each and every political party boss, regional parties or national parties, they have become dictators in themselves. They do not allow people who can question, who can analyze, who can criticize, though the criticism is constructive. This way, Indian political parties, Indian political systems are functioning. People cannot question, people do not question, people dare not question. With this kind of citizens, with this kind of voters, what kind of vigilant citizen we can expect is the guess I am leaving to all of you. Therefore, Indian voter is not vigilant. He cannot understand what is the difference between GDP and per capita income. He does not know what is the difference between economic progress and distribution of wealth. He does not know what is the meaning of concentration of wealth, concentration of sources of income. He does not know what is the damage Mr. Adani can do or Ambani's can do, and he does not know what is the suffering that an ordinary laborer, casual laborer, who is suffering from lack of food and shelter. He does not understand all these things. Therefore, he blindly follows. Therefore, in India, for a vigilant citizen, you have to attack this bigotry, attack this foolishness, and attack this slave mentality. Therefore, the caste system or the Varna system or the religious philosophies that are ruling in the country, they are not allowing the Indian citizen to become a vigilant citizen. Therefore, the vigilant citizenship which Baba Sahib Ambedkar was dreaming about when he said, an educated society can reform itself, can improve itself, can develop itself. That was the philosophy of Ambedkar. But these educated communities, educated people, engineers, doctors, scientists are behaving in more bigotic ways, more foolish ways, more slavish ways than the uneducated people who are at least showing their bodies on the streets on certain problems that the country is facing. This way, vigilant citizen is lost in India. He is not born in India so far. Only a few YouTubers came out when the media houses become totally biased and capitalistic. A few YouTubers, they can be counted on fingers. There are 5 or 6 YouTubers. And on these YouTubers also, who are voicing their views, independent views, vis-a-vis the existing political system or the economic system or the social system, they are also being planned, or they are also being how to ban them, how to control them, how to remove them from the society. That YouTube or information channels or the formal or the what do you say that social media platforms. They want to control the social media platforms and pollute the social media platforms through trolls. In this, what is this called? Information stealers. They steal the information. They incite the misinformation, wrong history. In India, after the social media platforms came into existence, in India, what is happening is history, Indian history is no more dependent on literary sources, is no more dependent on sources of archaeology, is no more dependent on numismatics, no more dependent on carbon dating studies. It is all depending on Indian history is being rewritten on the imaginary Puranas, on the imaginary stories, itihasas, whatever we had. Therefore, the scientific basis of writing. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Somebody is
Please,
intervening.
yeah, sir. Please proceed, sir. Some of the members they unmute themselves. So please go proceed. Yeah.
Yeah. Therefore,
Yeah.
the vigilant citizen, he does not know what is Indian history, what is real Indian history. Unless you know what is real history, you will not be able to create a new history, that is the philosophy of Ambedkar. Therefore, this way we are losing entire track of Indian constitution, and unfortunately, the Indian intelligentsia, middle class, is totally, completely biased. Indian middle class, Baba Sahib Ambedkar said, as Ambedkar said, it will not produce a Voltaire. It will not produce a person who will talk against the oppressive institutions or the organizations or the ideas. He will always fall in line because he is a slave of history, slave of his tradition, slave of his filial responsibilities. Therefore, Indian constitution, whether it is in danger or Indian constitution, whether it is progressing, whether Indian constitution is able to strike its roots, the democratic roots in Indian soil, is something to be debated, discussed, and analyzed. This is one aspect. But the Indian democracy also depends on the social change that is taking place in the country, social transformation that is taking place in the country. You cannot discount Indian democracy as dead or Indian constitution as has been destroyed by somebody. It is not such a weak document. Indian constitution is not such a weak document to be destroyed by some the the lumpen elements, whether they are in legislature and administration or judiciary. This is not a document to be destroyed, document that can be destroyed by lumpen elements. The strength of Indian democracy and strength of Indian constitution has been proved from time to time. There is hope for India because social transformation can be recapitulated in two terms, that as per Ambedkar, as per sociologists. These two terms are called, one is assimilation, other is amalgamation. This assimilation process is uneducated people, illiterate people becoming literate, literate people becoming highly educated, and getting acceptance as educated people across the globe. That is called assimilation process. For illiterate, those people who do not know how to dress, how to cook, how to build a house, how to speak, how to interact with other people, these are the limitations of the savage populations of the country. Long ago, hundreds of years ago, all these savages have become civilized and cultured. Civilization is technological advancement. Culture is your literature, your language, your other art forms are also part of the cultural. This cultural advancement and the civilizational advancements fall on the category of assimilation. In the process of this assimilation, now the so-called depressed classes, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, or other backward classes, they are learning languages, they are learning technologies, they are learning other social sciences and sciences, they are learning engineering, they are spreading across the globe also, like other advanced sections. In this assimilation process, we are really far going very progressively. This assimilation process is one source of protecting Indian constitution. The second aspect is real social advancement. In India, social advancement, as I said, is not educational advancement. Social advancement is not the position you are occupying in a government office. Social advancement is not the position you are occupying in the legislative bodies. And social advancement is not the economic progress you are registering as a crorepati, as a millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire or trillionaire. This is not the social advancement. In Indian soil, where the society is stratified into compartments, there are 6,400 and above compartments in the names of castes in India. This caste walls, the iron curtains between caste and caste, these walls have to be broken to declare that in India, social progress is taking place, social advancement is taking place. For that, the sociological terminology is amalgamation. And in India, Ambedkar said in one word, intercaste marriages. Unless these intercaste marriages take place, unless this amalgamation, mixing of blood takes place between races, between tribes, between castes, and between religions also, you cannot say that social progress is taking place in India. If you evaluate whether the Indian constitution can be protected or not, whether Indian's constitution will survive in future or not, depends on mostly on this social advancement of the country. If educated people, professionals, scientists, politicians, economists, all these class of people who are highly educated still stick to their caste, there is every possibility Indian constitution can be destroyed and the depressed classes can be again brought back to the practice of untouchability. The social progress is the main concern for all of us. We should always take care, we should always talk, we should always discuss, we should always try to destroy the walls that are being erected between caste and caste, and that is possible only through the intercaste marriages and this amalgamation process. Therefore, our entire focus in future, Dalit movement or Ambedkarite movement, should always focus on the amalgamation forces, intercaste marriages, encouraging intercaste marriages, ultimately breaking this caste varna divide of Indian society. This is maybe possible through, if you break the digital divide, if you break the educational divide, if you break the economic divide, and all these things are different, they are processes of assimilation, but as long as caste is alive, Indian democracy and Indian constitution is always in danger. This is my submission to the august audience today, and I like to take some questions if I am able to answer them. And I have a submission that, my dear friends, there is one quotation called, questions are necessary because a greatest fool may ask more than the wisest man can answer. This is the important of questions. I repeat for your consumption. A greatest fool may ask more than the wisest man can answer. Therefore, I am not wise enough. I may not be wise enough. I may not be informed enough to satisfy all your questions, but I will try to answer some of your questions if you feel like asking me. I now stop here, and the last word I want to tell is, whether Indian population, whether there is fraternity, which is the foundation for equality and liberty. Fraternity is the foundation for liberty and equality. Whether that fraternity, fraternal feeling, the brotherhood exists or not in Indian society is the real test of Indian democracy, which is called the equality of people, equal treatment of people, and freedom, allowing freedom for each and everybody to express himself, to grow himself, and advance himself. If these two things are to take roots, that is liberty and equality, the society should have the foundation, the fraternity as the foundation for itself. Whether this fraternal feeling exists in between the castes or among the castes, whether the fraternal feeling is existing between religions, whether the fraternal feeling is existing between races, whether the fraternal feeling is existing between the tribes, and across all these across all these various categories of Indian citizens, is the bigger question to decide whether Indian constitution survives or gets destroyed in future. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Now I am open for questions and discussion.
Yes, sir, Murthy sir, this is a very awesome presentation, sir. Without reading any slides or anything, you recall each and every word in your brain, and you display that things in front of us. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, sir. And that's the beauty of our senior members here. They remember everything.
Thank
And
you.
nowadays, as our young generation, we have to present it and put it in the slide presentation. But thank you very much for sharing your thought. Now I will request the members who are joined on the call. There were about 33 members on the call. So if you can raise your hand and please unmute yourself, quickly introduce where are you from, and you can ask your question. So you can raise your hand and please go ahead. So there was one question on the chat box. Some member asked, I believe there is a still casteism in India. They are taking away reserved percentage from the reservation and giving 1 to 2% to Muslim community. Can you talk about little more on this reservation? And this question is from Sampath Yogendranath.
What was his exact question? Whether 2 to 3% reservation for the
No,
Muslims?
he is asking basically that they are taking the reservation out, but they are giving the reservation to the Muslim community. Why that is happening?
See, the constitutional basis for reservation is backwardness of a community. Reservations in government jobs and the reservations in the educational institutions are governed by certain principles laid down in the constitution. For getting reservation either in the educational institutions or the government jobs, the community should be socially backward and educationally backward. That is number one for educational reservations. And if whether any community is socially backward, so-called minorities, whether Christians or Muslims or Sikhs, or for that matter the Buddhists, these religious denominations or the religious groups are not completely free from the caste system. There are castes in Islam, there are castes in Christianity, there are castes in Sikhism, as there are castes in Hinduism. Therefore, social backwardness is defined on the basis of the status of the caste in the perception of the society. Therefore, if a caste is backward or not is decided by the name of the caste, whether in irrespective of the religion, number one. If that community, if that caste, irrespective of religion, is educationally backward, what is their enrollment ratio, what is their graduates percentage, what is their postgraduates percentage, these parameters will tell you physically what is the educational advancement. This is one aspect to be considered for the educational reservation. The second aspect, Article 16(4) of the Constitution, Article 16, Article 12 to Article 35 of Indian Constitution deal with the fundamental rights. This educational advancement and social advancement is the responsibility of the state when somebody is really claiming that they deserve some support from the state. And for Article 16(4) of the Constitution tells job-based government sector reservations should be given to those backward classes which are not adequately represented in the services under the state. Adequate representation. And this adequate representation is defined when it comes to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. It is proportionate to the percentage of their population in the overall country. You are getting me?
Yes,
Scheduled castes and scheduled tribes will get the reservation percentages. Adequacy of representation of these two classes will be decided on the basis of their population percentages. Whereas for other backward classes, there are some constitutional limitations. There are some constitutional limitations which are also broken recently in 2017 when the government of Modi introduced the economically weaker sections reservation. they have broken one constitutional principle which has guided the reservation policy till 2017. That was, overall reservation percentage should not be more than 50% of the government jobs. Now, how much percentage is to be given for the other backward classes depends on the remainder within that 50 after removing SC percentage and ST percentage. For example, if in a state like Punjab, if SCs are 25% and STs are 15%, though there are no STs in Punjab, I take as an example. If SCs and STs together are taking away 40% of the reservations in a particular state, in that state, the remainder available for the backward classes is only 9%. In this 9%, whom you want to accommodate depends on the scale of backwardness, whether you are more backward or less backward or most backward, this kind of a scale. That has to be decided by the government of the day. This will become the basis for reservations in the government sector. And unfortunately, after this EWS, economically weaker section reservation doctrine, the reservation philosophy which flows from Article 14 of the Constitution, which talks about equality before law and equal protection of laws, that while interpreting that article, Supreme Court has said there can be categorization for implementing reservation, but there cannot be class-based reservations. These are the certain constitutional debates and discussions. For giving anybody reservation in the government should be guided by three principles. One is social backwardness and educational backwardness, coupled with the inadequate representation of that particular community. Community means whether religion, caste, tribe, or race is again a big thing to be elaborated. That will go by the definition of these classes given in Article 366 of the Constitution. We have to go by the definition. With that definition, whether a particular community fits in scheduled castes, fits in scheduled tribes, or fits in social and educationally backward classes, or fits in economically weaker sections, these things have to be evaluated before a community is considered for reservation in the government.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sir, if you have any follow-up, please you can ask. Otherwise, we can move to the next one.
Thank you very much. It is so helpful and it is very good, informative, and it is inspiring me a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on the Zoom.
I'm sorry, sir. I am not a legal expert. I didn't have even the LLB degree.
Oh,
This
no,
out of
sir.
my-
Your explanation is so good, and it is inspired to millions of people. And
Thank
I
you.
am from USA. And
Thank you.
yeah, my nieces, nephews, they are here, and they are also watching, and they are also listening to your conversation. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Great. Nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other question? Please raise your hand or unmute yourself. Yeah, Mahendraji, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Yeah.
Sir, I have written my question in the chat box also. Though we know the problems, we can analyze the problem, we know what is happening, but our political leadership, they are neither united. They are all, everyone has having own party, either in South or in North or in Maharashtra. Or then what is the way out? What is the solution before us? We intellectuals can analyze everything. We know the truth. How to move ahead? What we are doing, we are making ourselves aware. Awareness is increasing, that is there. But what is the solution, sir?
Solution for what?
For this all prevailing, we don't have anybody in the judiciary. We don't have political power. No one is raising our voice in the parliament. Like solution for these things, sir.
See, to raise questions in the parliament, one should have the knowledge to question.
I agree with you.
Number two, one should have the courage to question. And unfortunately, the third aspect is one should have the permission of the political party to raise his voice in the parliament. Therefore, the political parties, they are not allowing the so-called social justice questions in the parliament. And the people from scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes are really tied down by mouth as well as hands, and they will not be able to question this. That is where our role comes as vigilant citizens to build more and more wider base of vigilant citizens. And ultimately, this discussion debate, that is where Ambedkarism comes into picture. Ambedkar says, educate, agitate, and organize. Unfortunately, these three things have been taken differently by different people, and they give different translation versions, different meanings. Education means educate yourself and educate others with right views, right conceptual clarity, and the clarity and the concept which is really beneficial for the Bahujans. Bahujan Hitaya, Bahujan Sukhaya then comes. That is education. Agitation means make the people think, make the people analyze, make the people criticize, make the people synthesize, make the people explain. Give these abilities to people. That is the meaning of agitating. Agitating the mind of the people, but not the body of the people. Unfortunately, this agitation as a doctrine or a mantra is misunderstood by even the Dalit intellectuals as well as Dalit activists. This is second part. The third part is organize means organize yourself, organize, reorganize the entire society. Society organized on the tribal sentiments, on the caste lines, on the religious lines, or the racial lines. These lines have to be broken, and the reorganization should be based on humanitarian values and human individual centric values. Individual should become the center of your organization and philosophy of organization as well as the structure of the organization, but not the caste, race, tribe, or religion. This is the meaning of organize yourself. To make it much more simpler, 100 of us, Dalits can organize and set up a society. 100 of us can come together and set up an educational institution. 100 of us can come together and set up an industrial unit. This is the meaning of organization. Organization does not mean only political organization, does not mean only religious organization. It can be a cultural organization, it can be an educational organization, it is an organization for health services or for economic activities. This is the meaning of organization, and this reordering of the society is different. That is a bigger task that can be taken by a political platform in future to come. But organizing in between, before you talk about political organization, political mobilization, you have to organize yourself at the village level or the taluka level or the departmental level and do something constructive, progressive, democratic, and useful to the community and the country as well. This is the meaning of organization. We have to follow these doctrines and work with the people, younger generations. That's what I am doing. I personally claim I am very proud of my own activity because I spend a lot of time with the students and younger generation, educating them and making them understand what is the meaning of knowledge, what is the importance of language, what is the meaning of power of knowledge, how Baba Sahib Ambedkar becomes the symbol of knowledge and inspiration for all of us, as an icon for all of us. These things I educate among the people. I do not advertise much and I do not appear too much on the social medias. So this is my personal understanding and personal advice. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. By 10:30, we have to wrap up, sir. So in chat box, we have some questions, and in line, Manthan Raidasra sir is there. So just Raidasra, sir, please, you can go ahead.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please. I'm here. I'm able to hear. You're
Hello,
audible
hello.
enough.
Yeah, and how are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. It was a good seminar. So I have a quick question.
Please.
It's a one thought, but it's two questions. So Constitution facilitate reservation in politics, SC/ST reservation for MLAs, MPs. So these two questions, those who are getting elected on the reserved seats, they're shutting off. Basically, they're becoming slaves. Okay, that's one issue. And the other side, the political parties forcing us to contest from reserved seats. What Constitution clearly says, these are 10 places where SCs contest. These are 5 places where STs contest. Constitution doesn't say that, okay, stay there, don't come out of one day. You're not supposed to. So they have created a rhetoric over the time. You know, they interpret that, oh, USCST, you can. So how can you address these? One, how not to turn these into
See,
slaves? Okay.
we must understand the functioning of a democracy. Democracy always functions by numbers. Whether you're intellectuals or ordinary people sitting in the legislatures, it goes by the numbers. Number one, when we had a separate electorate for electing the representatives of scheduled castes, given in the communal award by Ramsay MacDonald in 1932, it was supposed that the philosophy of that is, if the scheduled caste representatives only are elected only by the scheduled caste voters, the true representatives will go to the legislatures and speak the voice of the scheduled caste. This was the philosophy. And this electorate base has been changed from the separate electorate exclusively for the scheduled caste has been removed, has been and transformed into general electorate. In any constituency, scheduled castes are not in majority. They are always in minority. Therefore, they will have to depend on some other communities for getting elected through the electoral process. And after getting elected, let me tell you one thing. Let us suppose all the 15 candidates from scheduled castes or the 7 candidates from the scheduled tribes, 22 out of 22 will be elected by their own people. And all the intellectuals like Raidas or the Vinod will be members in the parliament. When they go and sit in the parliament, what will be the composition of parliament? What is the size? What will be the size of these individual representatives from elected exclusively by these SCs and STs? They will still be 22. If a legal measure has to go through the house, passed in the house, that house always requires, that legal measure always requires a majority in the parliament or assembly to pass through. And still you are a minority. If the majority as an anarchy decides to vote against your proposal in the legislature, you will still not get the law passed in your favor. And if a law is not made in a democracy, there cannot be any implementation machinery that can be grounded in the field. So the democracy, law, parliament and its implementation are interlinked, and we are in a minority. Then what is the way out? I am asked yesterday, somebody was telling what is the way out means. People think that separate electorate, again going back to communal award from the Pune Pact. Pune Pact gave us the joint electorate, and before that communal award gave us the separate electorate. There are some people who still think that if we elect our own representatives exclusively by the voters of SCs and STs, they will be a better voice in the legislative bodies. Absolutely no problem with that. You will be voicing out, you will be the voice of the community, you will speak in the legislature, you will put forth your arguments, you will give the best argument, objective argument, most rational argument. Then what will happen to the measure? Ultimately, it is the numbers who will decide the destiny of that law, whether it is to be passed or not. When it has to be passed, it will be depending on the majority who are 78% on the other side. They can all en bloc defeat you on the floor of the house, number one. Therefore, this assimilation and amalgamation processes have to be activated as Ambedkarites. We have to think big. We have to take up the national issues as our issues. We have to take up all other constitutional issues as our issues, not just reservations or in education and politics and all these things. These are very narrow areas for us to play the game at national level and get absorbed or the assimilated or amalgamated into the mainstream society. Mainstream is still stigmatizing us, still stereotyping us, still harassing us and suppressing us. But it is a long process to go along. Therefore, we have to be vigilant and active and always assertive than reactive to these problems. This is my answer to you.
Thank
Good,
you.
sir. There is one question from Sairamji. Please go ahead. Yeah, please unmute and unmute yourself.
Yeah, Ram.
Yeah, Sairamji. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, great. Please, please.
Yeah, Sairamji, you can unmute. Let me unmute you. Sairamji, I cannot see him. Ask to unmute. Okay. Yeah, Sairamji, can you hear us? Yeah. Virlaji, please go ahead. Yeah, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Morning.
Sir, as a constitution, after incorporation, adapted the term secularism, sir.
Yeah.
Is our constitution really having the qualities of secularism within it, sir? If so, why makers of constitution not inserted the term secularism initially, sir?
See, Constitution, fundamental rights, Article 25 to 28, they are dedicated to secular aspects. Fundamental rights, Article 25, Article 26, 27, and 28. There are two kinds of minorities in the country. One is the linguistic minorities, the other is the religious minorities. When the country is divided, this was the scenario. And the minorities protection is given under the fundamental rights. And the freedom of, and the preamble itself tells you liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. If you keep away thought and expression, belief, faith, and worship are part of the religious systems. Religious are connected with the religions of our communities. Constitution gives everything. It is very, very, what do you say, express as far as the religious freedom is concerned. It is very express as far as the minority protection is concerned. Therefore, when it is very deliberately provided for in the fundamental rights itself, what is the necessity to give a big name in the official name of the constitution called Secular Democratic Republic was the original name. And after the 42nd amendment or so, the socialist and secular are brought about into the name itself. It was not necessary. If you read the constitution simple language, any person who knows a simple English language, simple knowledge of English language is good enough to understand Indian constitution. If you are not good at English, if you are not good at basics of grammar, then you are lost. And this is the official version of Indian constitution, English, it is in English language. So when it is very obvious, very express and very clear in Article 25 to Article 28, what is the necessity to bring it in the name itself? That was the reason it was not mentioned in the name in the original constitution. Otherwise, it is 100% there as fundamental right, religious freedom, worship, freedom of worship, freedom of faith, freedom of belief. Belief involves two things. You can believe in a God, you cannot believe in a God. You may not believe in a God. Belief includes atheist as well as theist. And it also includes agnostic also, who is neither an atheist nor a theist. He does not involve in the debate about God, existence of God or not. It is useless for him. He is an agnostic. And all these three beliefs are provided for in the constitution. What else we need? A mode of worship is allowed under the constitution. Fundamental right. What else you need? This is where, sir, I think because we are not conversant with the text of the constitution, at least convergence with the text of the constitution is a basic necessity for any intellectual to participate in the debates and discussions, because there is a philosophy of the constitution, there are some concepts in the constitution built into it, there is some phraseology used in the for recently Supreme Court has given a judgment with regard to the reservations. Article 366 of the constitution defines 35 expressions used in the constitution. These 35 expressions, if you go by individual words in these expressions, you will not find the meanings in the dictionary, standard dictionaries. When you do not get a meaning that you want from the standard dictionary, there you will create a legal fiction. And these legal fictions, 35 legal fictions, they are called the deeming provisions. They are given as definitions under Article 366 of the Constitution, which is the biggest article in the entire Constitution. And recently Supreme Court said, one of the definitions given in the as a deeming provision and legal fiction is scheduled castes. Scheduled castes means castes, races, tribes, parts of and groups within castes, races and tribes which are deemed to be scheduled castes for the purposes of the constitution. This is the definition given to the scheduled caste. Recently, Supreme Court Chief Justice of India, Y.V. Chandrachud, D.Y. Chandrachud, son of Y.V. Chandrachud, tells there is no deeming provision, there is no legal fiction, there is no definition of untouchability in the constitution. He is building a legal idea, a constitutional interpretative idea to remove untouchables in the constitution, to remove scheduled caste reservation in the future judgments. This is how the constitution gets derailed, misinterpreted and destroyed by the judiciary. And I have hundreds of examples to quote, but I will not have the time to go into all those things. Therefore, these things which are expressly provided for in the constitution, either as an article or as a clause or as a subclause or as a proviso, they need not be included in the name itself. There is not necessity for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we have one question in the chat box, sir. Sir,
Please.
we intellectual Bahujans are in the position to analyze the prevailing situation rationally and know the position in the country. Today, the ruling dispensation is moving ahead against all values inherent in Ambedkarism in every respect. But our political leadership are neither united nor organized. What is the solution and how can our interest can be protected as per our constitutional rights?
See, the political leaderships not, and the leaders are not united. They are not. They are not responsive to the problems of the scheduled castes. These are all general complaints. They cannot be united for the simple reason India is a multi-party system. There are 3,700 political parties registered. There are 180 or 70 parties recognized by the the election commission. There are 7 or 8 national parties. There are 37 or odd actively represented, which have their presence in the legislative bodies. This is a multi-party system, and each individual has his own choice of political parties. You cannot bind him by caste, you cannot bind him by religion, you cannot bind him by tribe. It is the moral responsibility of each and every individual to choose his path of political career. Therefore, expecting the political leaders to be united is a wrong thing to happen. A wrong thing to expect, number one. Number two, there is a moral responsibility on them to speak about the constitutional values, constitutional rights, legal rights, and all other important problems of the population as a whole and present objectively in the legislative bodies, which is not happening. To happen that, the political parties are not giving them the freedom. Therefore, the ideology, political ideology of Ambedkar, either republicanism or Bahujanavadam, these political forces have to be united in such a way that there should be leadership. The leadership should be intelligible and intelligent. Leadership should be intelligent, number one, intelligent in the sense knowledgeable enough, articulative enough. Then only he will be able to hear, that leadership will be able to penetrate into the masses. Now, the election process in India is not value based, number one, is not ideology based, number two. It is caste based and religion based and emotionally driven. In this emotional driving process, if a small the lower caste man, scheduled caste man or scheduled tribe man is called by a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Reddy and is assigning him a party role in the village, he is more happier to participate than coming behind you and me, who are going with the BSP or Republican Party kind of a thing. Number one. Number two, we are unemployed and underemployed and poor. Our youth in the villages are unemployed, underemployed and poor. They cannot sustain on their own. When they cannot sustain on their own, this political careerism and political activist or worker's job is giving him some sustenance financially. People are supported financially by the political parties who are financing their cadres, and they are working for them. It has become a coolish job. When unemployment is there, they are finding employment in the political parties as workers or campaigners. This is another aspect. The third aspect is constitutional morality did not prevail in the political parties to the extent that election is not purchasing votes. Election is not selling the seats to the highest bidder from the capitalist class. These are happening. Ultimately, when this will be questioned, when this can be questioned, is again depending on our organization. Unfortunately, caste-based organizations will not have the strength of morally addressing the larger class-based problems. And the various measures of the government or the steps of the government and pulling the poor and the illiterate people to get polarized on the basis of caste, and caste-based organizations are becoming very, very strong. How long it will take, when it will really translate into an ideology based political organization and political government, we do not know. I am not a prophet to predict that, but let us do our best, work with the people, educate people, as they agitate their minds, alert them wherever there necessity for alerting them, and try to make them as vigilant as possible. This is the process of education. We should never be stopped by all of us.
Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, the time is 10:40 here. I think 10 minutes we have exceeded. If you permit, because the audience, our
My
co-brothers, they're all very eagerly waiting for your answers. So, would you permit us to take 10 more minutes, sir? If you permit, we will go ahead, sir.
Yeah, if the questions are not repeated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think Sachinji, you're there, right?
Yeah, Sachinji is here. Yeah, Sachinji, please go ahead.
Yeah, please.
So before take the Sachin, Sachin, I will unmute you. Yeah, please go ahead. Sir, before Sachin asks, I will ask the quick question, sir. As we understand now, the constitution is in danger, and we all know about it. So how to protect it, sir, now?
This is the people's constitution. People will protect it, nothing to worry. If they cannot protect it, they will revolt. When the legal systems, formal systems do not respond to the aspirations and needs of the common people, they have various ways of protecting themselves. And these various ways may result in bloodshed also. We do not know. Because we have seen injustice has been resisted by bloodshed in France, in Russia, in China, in Vietnam, in some other parts of the country in bits and pieces. So, the reaction to injustice, a response to injustice, and this will be the responsibility of those perpetrators who want what kind of a path they want. Baba Saheb Ambedkar gave us constitutional means and the parliamentary means to reorganize the society, reorder the society on the principles of equality, fraternity, and liberty. And if the political forces do not want, one thing they have to realize is they are a very, very minority. The people who are running the country as politicians are as the business class, they are in a minority. And unfortunately, what is happening is they were earlier depending on the human resources even to control the human resources. But now the technology has become so bad, so aggressive. Now human beings are being replaced by robots. If tomorrow they are good enough, strong enough, financially sound enough, they will recruit robots instead of soldiers in the Navy, Air Force, and Army, and declare a war on the weaker sections. We do not know. Backward classes, we do not know what kind of war will they declare on the backward classes or weaker sections. They don't want us to think. They don't want us to live as equal human beings. They don't want us to claim our dignity of humanity. But still, they want to control us. You and me will be the witnesses for the mass reaction. When untouchability related act was amended in some parts in 2017-16, common people came onto the roads and attacked we have witnessed their demonstrations. Some 11 people died on the roads in North India, resisting the laws, the changes that were brought about in the Atrocity Prevention Act. Number one, you have seen agricultural laws were brought about 2-3 years ago. And those agricultural laws, 3 laws relating to agriculture, they were resisted. And 70-80 people died agitating against those laws. And the laws were withdrawn. The atrocities amendments, whatever amendments that were brought about, they were again withdrawn. So the people have imbibed the constitutional values. They may not be articulate enough like you and me. They may not be able to discuss, participate in the debates and discussions, but they are feeling the beauty of the Constitution, the essence of the Constitution they are feeling, and they are able to express their anguish or their response in different modes. And if the excesses of the state, either it is the legislature, executive or judiciary or the armies, if the excesses of the state go beyond a limit of zone of tolerance, the masses will take charge and dictate the lessons necessary for these ruling classes. And you and I, as long as possible, as far as possible, to the extent, we should always educate our masses to follow the constitutional means and the parliamentary methods, because Baba Saheb has given us the most powerful weapon called vote, and we have to educate our people on the value of vote, and the information that we inject into the public mind regarding the value of vote is the most crucial thing, most critical thing, that is the critical mass which can change the paradigm of the democratic system in the country.
Thank you very much, sir. Regarding this, I have one question, sir.
Please,
because vote is such a powerful weapon, and there are apprehensions and means strange experiences for the voter, that whether the vote he casted in the EVM instead of the ballot in EVMs, whether his vote is going to transform the government's what he intended. Is it the real purpose of democracy what EVM is delivered? These are the questions most of the people have it, sir. Just kindly
I have
throw some light on
one.
it.
Yeah, I have only one solution for this, one reply for this. This electronic voting machines, whether they are good, doing good or not, honest or not, they are machines. They will listen to the human manipulation only. If the manipulation itself is built into the code of the machine will execute that code. Therefore, since they are computers, there is some software. Computer is made by man, software is made by man, and this man is making a wrong code for destroying the democratic process and the electoral processes. It is possible always. The complete professional hackers are there to destroy the highly protected software systems in the country, in the world. Therefore, their softwares have their own limitations. And again, going back from this electronic voting machines to the manual voting system, ballot system, then also the polling booths were rigged. Poor people were not allowed to go into the polling booth at all. Villages and villages together never saw a polling booth. They do not know a polling booth kind of a system exists, even for 30 years, 40 years also. So nowadays, people are becoming more and more aware of their vote value. It is the uneducated people who are exercising their voting rights than the educated people. It is the poor class which is exercising the voting right than the rich class. It is the unofficial component of the government which is exercising the votes than the official segment. Therefore, mass Indian public have got the taste of democracy. They may not be able to cook the biryani of democracy now, but they will certainly cook it in future, and they will enjoy the beauty of democracy and the fruits of the constitution in the times to come. This is my hope for the country.
Thank you, sir.
Any other? Shall we? Vinod?
I think CRMG is he has raised his hand, sir.
Yeah.
CRMG, please go ahead.
Yeah, he raised the hand from long time,
Yeah.
but he is not
He's having
able
some
to unmute.
problems. Yeah.
But I would like to say, sir, happy Constitution Day to all of you who join on the call today. And sir, you have a long day to go today. You do have a lot of appointments today.
Yeah, I have a meeting of minorities in
Correct.
the roundtable conference is there.
Correct.
All the
Without,
minorities are meeting there.
correct.
They
Without
wanted me
further
to
delay, sir,
join.
then Vinodji, please proceed for the quick vote of thanks, and we can conclude the session.
Yeah. Thank you,
Siddhoji is
sir.
there.
Yes, sir. You are telling something, sir. Please.
Yeah, I was asking whether Siddhoji is there.
Yes, sir. Siddhoji is here. Yeah, unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, he is there, sir.
Yeah, he's here.
Good enough. And let us make it a day, and please propose whatever vote of thanks you want to do.
Yes. Vinodji, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for the enlightening
Thank you. Welcome.
discussion, sir, because all the election process, whatever happening in India, whenever elections are going on, people are just going for, in the depression mode. Means the democratic ways are going on. So the constitution, the base of the constitution, as you rightly put up, is a people's document. People will protect it. This is the hope you have given on this constitution day, sir. A really optimistic approach, and really it has given a hope for our Indians who believe in democracy, who believe the power of vote, who believe there is a scope for liberty, equality, fraternity in the form of constitution. And you have imbibed us with the knowledge of constitutional morality through the lens of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, what he ought to achieve through the transformation process. I think our audience, our brothers and sisters who have participated today, they raised so many good questions, really good questions, and you have answered them in a quite polite manner, and you have taken your enough time, very patiently you have answered. That is really appreciable, sir. And our thanks are due to the Ambedkar Association of North America, who have given this platform to share our views. Though we are, in a distant places, but ideologically we are connect. We have the respect and the duty towards our constitution. It is a initiative from Ambedkar Association of North America, and Mahesh Vasnik ji, Vivek ji, Sandeep Chauhan ji, Nishikant, so many people, they really organized it. And timely, Anantaraj sir from the Shanti Chakra International, Prabhuddha Bharat International, Udayji and Dr. Siddhoji, they have all coordinated. And people from various departments from India, like Siaram sir and Gautam Udawat from Income Tax Department, so many people have joined. Though the number was very less, it was so, sir, so enriching to listen these constitutional values and learning more about our constitution only to protect it. This gives us the hope, sir. And we really thank AANA for giving this honor, sir. And I request Mahesh Vasnik ji to give the announcement of December 6th, please.
Correct. So, sir, the December 6th is a Mahaparinirvan Day, the death anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So, we are hosting a blood donation drive across the India and other places, and also in the United States and Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and so many other places other than India. And last year, we contributed almost 2,000 plus donation drives in the different countries. So this year also we are doing the same thing. So I will encourage the members who join here, please do the same. Just donate blood for Dr. Baba Sahib. It's a very good initiative, and we request all, wherever they are, if they can join together and do the donation, it will be great. Thank you very much. And with this one, sir, Murthy sir, thank you so much for joining the call today. We do appreciate your valuable time. I know you are a very busy person there, and today's day that everyone is celebrating the Indian Constitution Day. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll invite you again, sir. We do run the online Vihara every Sunday. You touch about the education, and and we will talk about the education topic on that BRSS in near future. So we'll take your
Thank you.
time again someday. But thank you everyone for joining today.
Yeah.
Good night. And again, once again, happy Constitution Day to all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good
Thanks to
morning to all of you.
Vinod also.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah.